With us in the studio this morning is Adetunji Adeyeye. He's the House of Representatives candidate intending to represent Buhari Federal Constituency in the FCT. Thank you for finding the time to join us today.
Thank you. Good morning and good morning, Nigerians.
Right. Like I told you, it's going to be a full house. Yes, it's a full house, but it's gender balance. All right, very quickly, before you came into the studio, we're actually talking about politicians. We know they're very coming into the murky waters of politics. We're talking about politicians who, most times travel out of the shores of this country, see beautiful things, see light 24/7, see water supply, see gas, see everything working perfectly, and they still have the temerity to leave such countries and come back to our own country and not even bother to fix just an ordinary pothole. Are you worried?
Oh, indeed, I'm worried, and that's why I actually decided as a person to take a step. The class of politicians you described, unfortunately, see politics as business for them. So therefore, they have mortgaged their conscience that even to do what is right, it doesn't appeal to them anymore. So until the young people in Nigeria, the very ordinary Nigerians, professional, stand up and take active participation in politics before you see that kind of mindset that will change. Because ultimately, we, this generation, we have been the victims of the type of politician that you described. These politicians, they will never change. It's already in their DNA. Most of them are in government, and they are investing in those economies that they've described. Without wanting to mention anybody, you have some of them having multi-million-dollar investment in those countries, so generating income, creating jobs in countries that already is self-sufficient, and this wealth that they're using to create these jobs that they're developing this economy is coming from Nigeria that it's already depleted of both human and financial resources. So until the young people of this country stand up and go against this political class who have turned themselves into political overlords, nothing will change. So the challenge is really, what are we young people doing? Are we ready to get involved in critical mass? Not just a tiny fraction, not just myself alone, but critical mass. That's when you have change. So yes, I'm worried. 2019 will not take us to the Eldorado. But if we'll then ride on 2019, 2023, that young professionals, people of good faith, of good conscience, because that's the difference. It's not so much about party, it's not so much about language or ethnicity. It's about the conscience that drives you. What's your character? Until we have ordinary young Nigerians who have good character, good conscience, who have a faith that is behind the politics, come into politics, that's when you're going to have significant change in our national development.
Do you think the old ones want to give way for that?
Yeah, in any political order, in any democracy, the political overlords, this political old class, they don't give up power, easily. You must push them out. You must get engaged, and that's why I even when I started my political journey, my call and my cry was to appeal to young people, get involved. The only way you get involved is to register to become a voter, is to register to become a candidate yourself. Now, interestingly, we have the power in our hand. If you look at the demography in Nigeria as of today, the young people are the majority of the voter register in Nigeria. So we already have the power. Do we have the mental frame of mind to match that power, to translate into a political action that will keep us this guide? And that's where the challenge is. Are we going to still go and follow them to get the 2,000, the 5,000, the buying of vote, all that shenanigans they do at the election? If we can have a mental frame of mind that understand that if we can sacrifice the whatever 10,000, 2,000 that they give us now, we would ultimately be in a position to have in Nigeria where there will be justice, in Nigeria where you can have an economic opportunity to determine what kind of person you want to be. I'm personally very worried at our electoral empire, and no matter what propaganda or thing they tell us, there's a lot of room for concern. I don't know whether you're aware in Kuntuku and Gogolada government area council, a whole bag of PVC was stolen, according to them. And this, we believe it wasn't stolen. It was an inside job by INEC staff to sell them, because I have it of a fact, I'm ready to work with the SSS. I've been approached to come and buy PVC by INEC staffs. But not one source, not two sources, but INEC staff to buy a PVC card for 500 per one. And I told them I don't want, because I don't want that kind of power. And they said, oh, well, okay, you are not serious, because your PDP politicians have bought so many. This politician have bought so many. I said, okay, to them. So, we're worried that process is giving us concern. I don't know whether you follow Embelembe. The man brandished an authentic INEC card reader on his show. He got it from, that's investigative journalism. He got it just to show that we the processes are, we are worried. We understand now that the game is to, all this PVC that you can't get when you go to INEC Center to get, it's not actually lost. Somebody has sold it, and they are selling it for 2 aims, to depopulate very enlightened would-be voters, one angle, and also to give those same PVC to proxy that would vote multiple times. But we are waiting for them. Nigerians are waiting for them, because we see them. We have intel on the ground. We have people too. So we are waiting for them. All of that, you're going to be pursued. They're going to be shot. So in terms of the electoral umpire, we are very concerned. I'm concerned as a person that we don't have the kind of independence and the kind of free and fair preparedness of the umpire. We are very worried. Everybody's worried.
What do you think is the way out?
Okay, the way out is for
Before you even talk about the way out, do you think we're going to have a free, fair, transparent, credible election come 2019? Do you think we're going to have that?
I'm optimistic, because we still have time to redeem ourselves. The whole world is watching us. The EU, the Americans, the AU, the international organizations are worried about Nigeria. They're worried about our election come 2019, because, as you know, we occupy a very vital position in geopolitics, world geopolitics. So people are watching, and people are interested. They are stakeholders. They are foreign investors who want to see this election as a kind of confidence boost for them to bring in more foreign investment. There are a lot of foreign partners who want to do a lot of things with us, but this election is going to be the litmus test. So there is hope for redemption, and one of the hope is that the INEC chairman, in the person of Professor Muhammad himself, should rise above politics or ethnicity or anything. He should see patriotism as the first thing first, that he hold Nigeria everything that he is today, and therefore he needs to do all that is possible, humanly possible for him, to make sure that he gives us a very credible election. And a lot of the INEC staff that are on the ground that are trying to make and then game the system by calling you to come and do this, they should not forget that they don't have any other country than Nigeria. If you create a Nigeria that we have, retrogression rather than advancement, your children's children is going to be a victim. You cannot take all your family and leave Nigeria to say, okay, you've made money, you want to go and live abroad. Some part of the family is still going to remain in this country. So it's the way we lie our bed, so we lie on it. So it's the only country we have. So it's a challenge for all of us to take patriotism as the first thing, and duty to Nigeria is to make sure we put Nigeria first. That's the only way we can redeem ourselves. So I can only hope and believe that every Nigerian would remember the true sacrifice of our heroes that we sing about. So Nnamdi Azikiwe, Awolowo, Tafawa Balewa, those guys that stood and fought for independence when it was not even convenient to, that this is their own chance and opportunity to stand for something so that posterity can remember them. And so whatever you do in your little corner as an INEC staff or as an observer or as an agent, remember that you are placed in at this time for such a time as this, and to record your own good deed for Nigeria and history. And forget the fact that, well, maybe people don't see you, God sees you. So we need to know that when it's all said and done, we must have accountability to God, even if we try to fool people I mean, we can't fool God. And that's the only appeal I can make to them.
All right.
Yes. Earlier, when you were speaking, you talked about political parties. When you were talking about that, it's more than just the political parties. It's you as a politician, your own ideologies, what you see for Nigeria. Now, as a politician, you would agree with me that the strength of political parties in Nigerian politics cannot be overemphasized. So now, what is to be done when your ideologies and that of the political party you are with start to differ? What would you do?
Okay, first of all, that is a very good one. But first of all, the way I see it is, as a candidate, I was very careful. I was very, very, analytical of what kind of political party I joined. I did not join the Young Progressive Party just because I wanted to pick one party out of the hat. I researched the party that I chose. I researched the people that were in there. I researched their ideologies. I researched their manifesto, and all of that, complies with my internal belief as a person. So, for instance, the Young Progressive Party, the YPP, its ideology is basically driven by, putting the Nigerian citizen at the right or at the center of policies. So, either in education, agriculture, our economy, or our oil, or whatever sector, their own fundamental thing is how you form a policy that will ultimately benefit the ordinary Nigerians. So, having chosen that kind of party, I found it very almost impractically impossible that there will be dissension or dissent along the line, because we are operating on the same fundamental belief. We are very conservative in terms of we believe in smaller government, we believe in restructuring, we believe in reform of our justice system, we believe in even cutting down the size of government. So that's what the party believes, that's what I believe as a person. So I see that that risk is not there. But for other political parties, it's very obvious, and that's why you've seen over time that the same set of people move from one party to the other, and they are just, window dressing. It's because they have no ideology. Otherwise, you don't see this happen in America, that suddenly you will see in droves a Republican going to Democrat, and Democrat. It doesn't, because they are driven by ideology. In Nigeria, it's not ideology, it's ideology of their pockets. So, that's what is happening with those parties. But if you look carefully, the new parties that have come to be are parties who have really learned from the mistake of the establishment party that they have. And for instance, the Young Progressive Party stood its ground that is not going to be a member of the CUPP. We didn't come to that coalition. The pressure has been much. They've been pushing us. We said we don't, because their ideology is fundamentally faulty. It does not align with us. So if we do go into coalition with you, very, very quickly, we are going to have that reality that you described. So for my party, Young Progressive Party, we are sound and we are convinced and we are unshakable in our beliefs and ideology for Nigeria, which is small government, restructuring, reform of our justice system, revitalizing the economy by devoting the right in terms of investment of human capital in education, and also attracting the right kind of fund and policies. So that risk doesn't apply to us.
When it comes to restructuring, now mounting on what you just said, many people have come out to say they want to restructure, especially when it comes to politics. Politicians have said they believe in restructuring. Others have. What to you is restructuring? When you say restructuring now, what are you referring to?
Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm very happy that you asked the question. For me, restructuring is not only political restructuring that we need in Nigeria. We need economic restructuring. So our restructuring must not only be political in the sense that, let's have a state police, let's have this. We have to restructure fundamentals of government. So first of all, the constitution that we have, the 1999 constitution as amended, is a constitution that was given to us by military guys. So it's not even a constitution that was written to the people. At no time did the military guys, then before the transition to democracy, called the Nigerian people to come and ratify. They called some few guys to draft a constitution and then rectify it. So that constitution, we must rewrite it. And rewriting is to essentially discuss it and say, okay, how do we want to see our government? What kind of government do we want to run? I'm agitating, and I think my party is agitating for a regional system where you have, representation from the region, so that we don't necessarily have to dissolve the state, but put them in a region system such that it kill this ethnic incentive, of I'm a Yoruba, I'm a Hausa, I'm this and that. That's on one side of it. So if we can restructure the political architecture, you're probably going to have more government responsiveness to regions, right? Okay, so that's on one side of it. Then economically, we must restructure too. We must try to give resources to certain geopolitical zones to enhance their own natural endowment. And let me give you an example. It's not a mistake that most of our industry comes from the southeast. If you go to Aba, the number of shoes they make. In fact, the first automobile guy that makes automobile cars in Nigeria is an Igbo man. So by gene, the Igbo people are generally, they are scientifically engineering inclined. So we must develop those kind of begin to create, maybe schools that will develop those competencies, and then look at, for instance, the north. The north has a lot of agricultural things, so we must also develop those competencies so that if I'm producing the east becomes the manufacturer hub of Nigeria, the north becomes the agricultural hub of Nigeria. So the south becomes, the business capital. The southwest, for instance, Lagos, you can have just like London. London is the economy, the banking and the financial sector of the world. You have to find what is really the competence of the region, and do policy that would develop, that would enhance it, and then we can cross trade. So when somebody in the north knows that he has to make his business and gain his volume of trade in the southeast, for instance, ethnicity disappears. When the southeast guy knows that the food will have to come from here majorly, ethnicity disappears. How come Israel is able to survive and sell food in the Middle East? Because the guys in the Middle East, generally, I'm not saying there's no tribe, but there's no issues in the Middle East, but generally, those guys realize that, look, survival is dependent on each other. Israel today feed the whole of Europe. Roast flowers that they sell mostly in Europe comes from Israel. Israel is the basket of food for most European countries. So these are the restructuring where we are talking about. Restructuring that is holistic, not just to restructure the police, but politically and economically. I think that's how we can have a new Nigeria, that where a man from southeast can be a governor in Kwara State, where a man from Jigawa State can truly go to Ogun State and become a governor, where somebody from Yoruba land can run in Benue State as a governor. Because at the end of the day, the problem we face in Nigeria is not really ethnicity, it's not religion, it's not language. The problem doesn't even know all of this, and it's affecting all of us. So why do we then zone the solution to ethnicity? It's a joke that we are embarking on. In US, why is their own federal system, the same kind of government where presidential system working? It's because a man in Texas can become a governor in New York. In Nigeria, what did they ask you? State of origin. Why does it matter state of origin? Why not state of residence? If I contribute my taxes, I pay my taxes in Abuja, what does it matter that I'm from Kwara State or from Ogun State or from, am I going to take my house that I built in Abuja and take it to Kwara State? Am I going to say, no, FCT don't tax me, let Kwara State tax me? Then why can't I be part of the solution of FCT? So until we look at this, until we look at these things in restructuring, before we can progress really as a nation.
Yeah, so taking you back to a point you earlier raised about the people changing ideologies and all. Now, earlier on the show, we're discussing how youth in general, you're not eating for days, for example, and then this politician comes and then he promises to give them 5,000 naira or 1,000 naira, and then just to solve that short-term need. How are you or how your party, how are you structuring the minds of the youth based on ideologies now that they need to break away from this? Because you made mention of a community that they know about, they're starting to know that they should vote competent people now. So, in general, the youth, how do you change, or how do you bring your ideology to this restructuring of the mind and everything now? How does that work?
It's a lot of hard work, and fortunately, we are not doing badly. And I say this because we've been using data. We've been using realities on the ground. So, for instance, I went to a community around Karishi district. So I have to travel from Karishi town, not outside Abuja, Karishi town. I have to travel from Karishi town to Gomada, Leka, Kutepichi, all those places. 3 hours from Karishi town to those villages. And as we are going to those villages, in fact, I was praying for my life because they don't have, it's on the mountain, they don't have, there's no road in any case. So some parts, they only put very tiny wood to serve as a bridge over the streams that we have to travel. So, and when we got there, they didn't have network, they didn't have clinic or health center, they didn't, even their school, I have pictures of it on Facebook, broken. The roof has collapsed and you have kids studying there. They didn't have any sense of civilization. There is nothing that resembles standard standard living there. There's nothing that even give you any assurance that you can have quality life there. So the question we ask them is this: do you have a representative, a senator representing you since 1999? They said they do. They have. Do you know them? Well, we do. Have they ever given you money before? Oh yes, they've given us money before. So now, the money that they've given you, even if you aggregate it, would it be able to give you a school or even a health center that you so critically need in your community? They said no. And we told them, the reason why your community is this backward is because the guys that have come to you know that once they can give you this money, you will not be able to hold them to accountable. You will not be able to demand health care or road. You will be neglected. And that's why, they've neglected it. They've complete abandonment in that community. So I saw, and I don't want to mention name on public TV, I saw in the chief of Leka the poster of all the political major parties, the candidates, who are unfortunately their representatives. So they know them. They posted, the man did a gallery of posters of all of them. In fact, I saw one person now, I won't mention his name, is now one of the major representatives in Abuja. The guy was as thin as a broom when he was contesting for House of Rep. No, but now it's so I said, oh, so this is this guy. Yeah, So people have gone so pat on the back of people, and people have. So we are saying, look, this is your community. See how it is. It's because of the quality and the type of person that you are voting in when they give you money. I don't have money to give you, but you can hold me accountable. My number would be accessible to you. My constituency office will be accessible to you. You don't even need to come to me. I will come to you as a rep. I will come to you once in every 2 months, so we can begin to solve problem in your community. And it makes sense to them. It makes sense to them. So as we go, we think people are realizing now that since 1999 to 2019, they have not been better off, even though they've been induced by the politicians over time. They've seen that their children are still unemployed. They've seen that even their own investment is depreciated. They've seen that inflation has eaten so deep into their income. They've seen that they can access healthcare. They can access the basic thing that should be part of community. They don't have it. Like in that place, when you have an emergency, you are likely to even to die from that hill before you get to Karishi, because you have to travel on Okada. No matter what it is, whatever emergency, medical emergency you have, it's Okada. So the guys have realized that, look, we are going to die quickly. That place is, the community is basically agrarian in nature, so they are farmers. But not even farming tools, not even farming seedlings, not even fertilizer, come on. And they've seen all of this, and we are saying, look, it's time you take your own destiny into your hand and shock this political establishment, whether it's the one party or the other. Vote them out. It's when you vote them out, you shock them, that they begin to take you serious. And I think it's resonating.
What are you going to do different?
Oh, a lot of things. So, for instance, my goal, what I've talked about is a lot. My own manifesto or my vision is labeled legislative agenda for community development. I'm going for a legislative office, but there's no governor, there's no mayor in FCT. So my oversight of the administrative mechanism of FCT has to be robust, has to be sharp, has to even dovetail into the executive. I must do some of the executive functions. So I've organized my legislative agenda into community-oriented projects. So one, which is the primary thing, is to find a way of how to improve education in the communities. Later, now it's a sore in my heart. I'll show you the picture. I was weeping to see the picture of Nigerian children, picture of Nigeria, being taught in a class that whether it's raining or it's sunshine is hitting them directly because the roof has collapsed, where there's no water. So our first goal is to organize community into zones. So I represent 2 local governments, for instance, Amak and Buhari. So we'll divide the whole of Amak and Buhari into zones. So we'll push in for specific increment of budget items on education in those areas, which is going to target infrastructure, is going to target teachers training, is going to also target welfare of teachers of our early year schools. So it's going to be a special lobbying and push for budget appropriation as an emergency appropriation for those areas, because we cannot just keep quiet and kids cannot study in Leka. So it's an emergency. So I'm going to push for immediately that kind of an emergency budget specifically, and even work with the Minister of Education for a task force, and even reach out to international donors, whoever can support government, in terms of improving the early childhood education there. So in terms of infrastructure training and welfare of the teachers. So that's critical, that's key. Now, once we'll do that.
Yeah, before you go to your second point, now, at this point, it's going to be very, very critical for our viewers to start calling us. Because on one hand, the president yesterday said he has fulfilled his 2015 campaign promises.
No.
And on the other hand, you are coming on board to tell the people what you're going to do differently. So we want to put that on our screen right now. We'll call that up. I have fulfilled my 2015 campaign promises. That's coming from Buhari. Do you agree? Call us and let's know. As Adeyeye continues, with his plans and his manifestos, you call in and tell us. Let's know if the president has actually fulfilled his promise, like he said yesterday. Now, before you go to your number 2 agenda, let me start with you. Do you think this administration has fulfilled its promises, its 2015 promises to Nigerians?
Of course, Nigeria knows the truth from the propaganda. They can't swing that. The APC government likes to pat themselves on the back, but Nigerians have learned now not to take them serious. I mean, they come on the wave of one, that they were going to fight corruption to a standstill, that they were going to give us security, that they were going to improve the economy. I don't want to put you on a hot spot, but let me say, the people that I meet on the street, nobody that have told me that their lives has improved. People continue to buy transformer in their community, continue to pay for darkness. People still don't have water. I was in a community share. They don't have water. They don't have borehole. I was in a community in Ido. They don't have water. I mean, who used to provide water is in the government. People's income has been so much devalued. Their investment, inflation has eaten it up. People can't even afford the cost of school fees. People can access health care. People are dying in the northeast, in Plateau, in all over the places. Boko Haram is there. Corruption is flying to high heavens now. You remember the grass cutter issue. You remember the governor that we had the video, collecting dollars kickback. You remember, all sort of, corruption in this government. So what is it that, what? They said they were going to, part of the thing that they were going to give the Empower money or something, 5,000, I think, to unemployed youth. I have lots of unemployed youth. In fact, I have an association called Unemployed Youth, and they have a president. The president of the unemployed youth, have not even gotten one, none of his members has gotten the 5,000, except the 10,000 traders money they are going to go and share in the market. And that is a tragedy. How can you have a vice president of a country, for goodness sake, sharing 10,000 in the market when you need to be designing policies that will make people to access money at no interest? In Afghanistan, they have community banks that I've talked about. So the president of Afghanistan does not need to go and share money in the market. They have a policy that creates a community bank. And let me tell you, this is not only this. They did it, but not government. They only said a policy that said banks, the charges that you are making, banks, ATM charges, all of that, set aside a percentage of that charges that you are making, and that percentage goes to a pot for community banks. And so government does not need to appropriate just a percentage of that, and then community can have it, and then they start borrowing people in the community at almost nothing. But our government, rather than formulate policies that will bring in capital, venture capital into the economy, they are not formulating policy. They are going down how to go and distribute money. Is that not a tragedy? I mean, I feel sorry for my generation. If we don't chase out these guys, we are not going to have a country in the next 30, 40 years, because they would have ruled not aground. Because they have no idea, they are not even pretending to have an idea, and then we still want to elect them. They are agrarian, fertile land, good land, but they are only doing subsistence farming. So farming to feed themselves and little to sell. We want to organize them into community cooperatives for agriculture, so that we can buy agricultural tools. So if I'm elected, when I'm elected, day one, I'll go take a loan before I'm even getting paid. I'll go take a loan from either GTB or Zenith Bank, the one that I use, and leverage that loan against my salary. So we'll go and buy bulldozers, tractors, all of that, and deposit it in the community and say, this community, this tool is in your hand. Then plan your agriculture or your activity on your farm on a rotation basis. So if I want to do harvesting today, I'll book my harvester. Then maybe you next time so you can have it. You don't need to worry about that. You can, if you're doing 1 hectare farm, you can increase it to 10 farm because you have the tool. We'll give you seedlings, fertilizer as part of what I'm going to do right away there. So we put it, we shared on the agricultural co-ops that we organize our community into, and then we liaise with Israel. Israel is fine in agriculture. EU, fantastic, agricultural research and revolution there, to partner with us in knowledge sharing, in how to optimize our agricultural, activities, so that we do let of sweating and do more of technology. How we can bring the technology into agriculture? It's just about organizing community in organizing them and bringing them. It's not difficult. So I was telling people that I'm going to buy a driller machine for borehole drilling and put it for the community. So if any community wants, let them, we just use it. We don't need to worry about, getting somebody to do it. We already have the tool, so we can do. Those are the things that I'm going to do differently. Now, also in agriculture, we want to be able to match our farmers to other European farmers, all of that, so that they can have we call it, in the IT or whatever they call it, we do industrial attachment, that kind of scheme, so that a wheat farmer in Europe can synergize with a wheat farmer here and cross-pollinate ideas. We have to do that. We have to teach our farmer how to package for export. Yes. These things, we are producing sometimes. We are producing more and wasting them because we don't know. Our farmers don't know how to package them to meet international market, to meet export. So we're going to have within the agricultural cooperative human capital resources to do and train all of this. So with that, even I'm going to create jobs, because some of these things will function as a project. Let us be bold. Let us be. Let's take our destiny to our hand and do something different this time. We saw the presidential debate. We saw the quality of candidates in terms of their vision for Nigeria. Right in that debate, Nigeria has the president for today and the future president in that debate. And certainly without wanting to patronize, because I'm from my party, but clearly Nigeria agrees that Professor Kingsley Moghalu is the best presidential candidate for Nigeria at such a time as this. He's gotten the economic plan, he's gotten the security plan, he's gotten everything. So why are we limiting ourselves to APC and PDP? I've heard this argument, it's only PDP that can take out APC. It's not only a PDP that can take out APC, it's your vote that can take out the APC. So if we all go and cast a vote for the right party and right candidate, we'll sack them.
Well, there there are alternative parties. And you said some school of thought have come out to say that the coming election is between APC and PDP. Don't you agree with that? Because if you look at the fact that APC has a structure nationally, PDP does have a structure nationally. Now, I want to ask you, is your party, the YPP, having the same structure like PDP and APC? Because for you to be the president of this country, you must at least, have a two-thirds of a vote across all of the states. Now, do YPP have that structure? If I ask you head on, putting you on the spot, if you can tell me the name of your party agent in Maiduguri, if you can tell me the party agent of YPP in Yobe, if you can tell me the party agent that you have in some of the wards in Damatru, and all of that, do you have that structure? Reality check. Do you have that structure to win the election?
Okay, the question is in twofold. One, about the possibility of our party to win an election nationwide, and also the human resources that you need for electioneering. Okay, the first, I'll start with the second question. The second question, yes, we do. We have ward, we organize to ward, we organize to local government across across the whole geopolitical zone in Nigeria. We have our people, so we have the party functioning even down to the ward level. What we may not have is candidate contesting all the elective position in Nigeria. We may not have that, but we do have our ward structure everywhere, right? So to that extent, we have our party agents, our canvassers. It's easy to do. I mean,
have you been able to put up one rally in one state?
Oh yes, we put up a lot of rallies. In fact, the presidential aspirant, Professor Kingsley Mogalo, has been going around doing rallies. Some of our aspirants in other states have been doing rallies. He's going to do rallies everywhere. And even yesterday, there was one in Old Parade Ground in Area 10 Gariki some months ago. Now, to answer the question of can we win an election two-thirds? Okay, what is structure? Structure is people. Now, people that are going to vote. And if the people's vote don't matter, APC and PDP will not be killing each other over, to get your vote. So your vote matters. So now what voters need to decide is that these two parties, these two presidential candidates, did they truly represent their aspiration? Did they truly reflect the kind of leadership that they want to have? Did they truly possess the solution that they want Nigeria to have? And the truth of the matter is they don't. So why then must you then say we have to choose the lesser of the two evils? Why don't you radically quickly go for somebody who identify that has got the competencies, got the capacities, got the character to lead, to be the president? Why must we be boxed into that narrative? It's the narrative of the politicians. They say it's APC that can take, it's PDP that can take APC. What can take PDP or APC out is good driven leadership, which unfortunately does not exist in both candidates and both parties. We Nigerians have experienced both of them since 1999. So that structure, that two-thirds, yes, it's achievable, it's doable because Nigerians are the ones to vote. And truly, if they ask themselves that question, do these people have the vision? And if they can answer the question to the affirmative and vote accordingly, then you would have your two-thirds over Nigeria.